The small garage had never been much to look at. Its faded walls, rusty sign, and aging equipment made it easy for people to overlook. But for a hard-working single dad named Michael, it was everything he had. For more than a decade, he spent long days repairing vehicles and even longer nights balancing bills while raising his young daughter alone. Despite his dedication, a series of economic setbacks, rising costs, and unexpected expenses slowly pushed him deeper into debt. Every month became a struggle to keep the business alive. Michael worked harder than ever, hoping things would improve, but the financial pressure continued to grow. One cold morning, a bank representative arrived with official documents that changed Michael's life after months of missed payments and failed attempts to negotiate. The bank had decided to repossess the garage. The news spread quickly through the neighborhood. Some people watched from a distance while others whispered among themselves. Michael stood silently as the locks were changed and notices were placed on the building. Although humiliation burned inside him, he refused to argue or create a scene. He simply gathered his tools, packed them into an old pickup truck, and walked away with his daughter by his side, determined not to let the setback break him. That evening, Michael parked his truck outside a small rented storage unit and carefully unloaded the tools he had collected over many years. Every wrench, socket, and diagnostic device carried memories of countless repairs and satisfied customers. His daughter tried to comfort him, reminding him that he had always found a way through difficult times. Michael smiled for her sake, but he could not ignore the uncertainty ahead. Without the garage, he had no steady income and no clear plan for the future. Still, he promised himself that he would keep moving forward. Giving up was never an option, especially when his daughter depended on him. Just a few days later, a major security company faced an embarrassing crisis. Their brand-new armored truck, valued at nearly $2 million, suddenly broke down during an important demonstration. The vehicle represented years of development and millions in investment. Executives, investors, and reporters were expecting a flawless presentation, but instead, the massive truck sat motionless in front of everyone. Engineers rushed to diagnose the problem, connecting advanced computers and running countless tests. Despite their expertise, no one could determine why the vehicle refused to operate. Each failed attempt increased the pressure, and frustration spread throughout the company. As the days passed, the armored truck remained useless. Teams of highly paid specialists examined every system, from the engine and electronics to the security controls and transmission. Meetings stretched late into the night as executives demanded answers. The company had spent enormous amounts of money creating what was supposed to be their most advanced vehicle. Yet a mysterious fault had brought everything to a halt. Investors began questioning the project's future, and the company faced growing criticism. Unknown to them, the solution was far simpler than anyone imagined, and it would soon lead them to the very man who had recently lost everything. By the end of the week, frustration had reached a breaking point inside the security company. The armored truck remained out of service, despite countless inspections by engineers and technicians. Every failed attempt cost the company money and damaged its reputation. During an emergency meeting, one senior employee remembered hearing about a mechanic whose problem-solving skills were legendary throughout the region. After making a few calls, they discovered that the mechanic was Michael, the single dad whose garage had recently been repossessed. With no other options available, the company contacted him and offered to pay for his assistance immediately. Michael was surprised when he received the call. Only days earlier, he had lost the business he spent years building. And now, one of the largest security companies in the state was asking for his help. Although he still felt the sting of losing his garage, he agreed to inspect the vehicle. The next morning, he arrived carrying only a small toolbox and a calm expression. Company executives expected someone with expensive equipment and a large support team. Instead, They saw a humble mechanic walking confidently toward the multi-million-dollar armored truck that had defeated dozens of specialists. The engineers watched closely as Michael began his inspection. Unlike the others, he ignored the complicated diagnostic reports and focused on the vehicle itself. He listened carefully to unusual sounds, checked connections by hand, and examined areas that others had overlooked. His movements were deliberate and patient. Within a short time, he noticed something unusual hidden behind a protective panel. A tiny component had shifted slightly during assembly, disrupting a critical signal inside the truck's control system. The fault was so small that it escaped the attention of every engineer who had previously examined the vehicle. Michael requested a simple tool and carefully adjusted the misplaced component. The room remained silent as everyone watched. After double-checking his work, he climbed down from the truck and asked the technicians to start the system again. Moments later, the armored vehicle came to life. Lights illuminated across the dashboard. The engine started smoothly, and every major system reported normal operation. The powerful machine that had remained useless for days suddenly functioned perfectly. Shock spread across the faces of executives and engineers. They could hardly believe that such a small issue had caused such a massive problem. As applause filled the facility, the executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. They had spent millions developing the truck and thousands more trying to repair it. Yet the solution came from a man who no longer owned a garage. The realization hit them hard. The same skilled mechanic who solved their crisis had recently lost his livelihood because of financial hardship. His talent, experience and determination were clearly worth far more than the building he had been forced to surrender. Impressed by both his expertise and character, the company leaders immediately began discussing a life-changing opportunity that would soon transform Michael's future forever.